Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is Tech in the Real World with Mark Darwin, and today we're going to be having a look at the world's thinnest foldable, the Oppo N5. So the Oppo N5 is a foldable that I've been desperate to look at for the past 2 months since it was released a few months ago on the Far East markets and did not come to Europe. I was very disappointed about this, so I've been looking to import one for a while. Finally got round to importing one, and here it is in the studio. So I've spent the last 2 or 3 weeks reviewing this phone, and I'm going to share my thoughts on this in this review and let you know whether this is something that you should consider buying in the UK and European markets, and also whether it's something that you should consider over foldables that are readily available in the UK, Europe and America, for example, because this is purely based in the Asian markets but is quite easily to import from the Far East via various vendors. It's also available on eBay and lots of other websites like that. So it is a more available than you think, I would say, is a way to look at it. So let's start off with looking at the design of this phone. So the main selling point of this phone is the thinness of the design. So this is something that Oppo really pushed during the launch event in Singapore, which was called the global launch, which we all thought was coming to the European market, and then it didn't, which is really unfortunate, but here it is in the studio, and a lot of people in the UK have them. So here we have the Oppo N5 in the flesh. It is the thinnest foldable in the world. There's the official title of this, beating the Honor V3. So the Honor V3 was my favourite foldable I had in the studio for 6 months or so, and I really loved it. So this had a lot to live up to, and I have to say it does deliver. It is one of the best designed foldables I've used on the market. So for me, it feels very similar in terms of the hand to the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, which is either a lot of people don't like it, a lot of people do like it, but it's kind of one that's available everywhere. So I'm trying to compare it to the sort of foldables that you might be aware of and might be most used to. It's not similar to the Galaxy Z Fold 6. I've never actually used one in the flesh, but I've seen them in the shops, etc. And that is a lot different design. It's a thicker design. It's sort of the display is narrower, so some people might like that, some people might not like it. And the Z Fold 7 is coming out soon as well, so it's probably worth waiting for that at the moment. So this is it's quite a tall foldable. The front screen is an absolute belter. It's a fantastic OLED screen, and it's the perfect size, and I can actually use it one-handed. It feels very comfortable to use one-handed because of the thinness of the design of the device. And if you look at the back of it, this is in the case. The camera bump is not too big. It doesn't stick out too far. When I used the OnePlus Open about 3 months ago, I had it. The Apex version, I did love that fold, but it was a lot thicker, a lot smaller, and the camera bump was a lot bigger. And this camera is much better than the OnePlus Open, in my opinion, even though it's got smaller camera module on there. And people have been slating the ultra-wide camera. We'll get into that later on. I don't think it's that bad for my use, and I'll show you some picture examples as usual. In the real world use, I think it's actually quite good. It's not the best ultra-wide I've ever seen, but it's certainly not the bad one on a foldable. So I think the design of this is perfect, and I think when you open it out into this beautiful 8-inch OLED display, which is latest technology, and it is a really good OLED display. It's bright. I've used it outside in different conditions. I think it goes up to about 3,000 nits peak brightness. It's not the brightest screen on the market, but outside I've used it in a really strong sunshine, and you can see it fine. It goes up to full brightness and you can see it perfectly, no problems whatsoever. So the design of this foldable to me is spot on by Oppo. It's the lovely metal finish around the edges, the fact that they've managed to squeeze the USB-C port in here like that. It just feels so well designed, and also really strong. Like, it's amazing how strong they built the phone, considering how thin it is. It feels stronger than, say, the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, in my opinion, or the OnePlus Open, which is the Oppo N3. It feels stronger than those, and it feels like it could really take a battering. And I think this phone would last you for many years, which is good considering the price. So I paid about £1,300 for this off Wonder Mobile, who are excellent to deal with. Highly recommend them. Check them out if you haven't already done so. Really, really good to deal with. Really easy to ship over and everything like that, and they covered all the customs duties, no problems whatsoever. So if you want this phone, I would definitely recommend using Wonder. I'm not endorsed by them anyway. I just happen to really like their process and their service. It worked really well for me. So we've moved on from this. Look at the specifications now on this phone, done the design. So it's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite CPU, which is the latest, obviously, Snapdragon CPU that's available in all these phones, all the flagship phones, but it is a slightly cut down version. So it has 7 cores of CPU rather than or GPU, I can't remember, rather than the 8-core version in the Samsung's, the OnePlus 13 example. But I don't find in real world use that had any difference in performance at all. The phone ran nice and cool considering how thin it is. I did gaming on it and it worked perfectly. Watched HDR films and it just didn't flinch. And it's just a very powerful phone. You can feel the Snapdragon chip in it working its way through powering the phone, and it is an excellent chip, as we all know, in all the other devices. And it does, just because it's a cut down version in this does not mean it affects it in any way. It runs really, really well. So you've got 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage in the global version. So there's two different versions you can pick up. You can pick up the global version and the Chinese version. So if you pick up the Chinese version, just be aware that some apps might not run that well on it. Android Auto might have issues, and Wear OS watches might not work that well on the Chinese version. So some people reported they do, some people reported they don't. So I would go for the global version if you're thinking about importing it. As I say, Wonder and many other retailers sell the global version for a sensible price. So I would just check it out if you fancy getting this. And there's plenty on eBay as well to have a look at. So this was arrived pre-configured for me, ready to go, and I've not had any problems using it in the UK at all. It's been perfect. So the 16 gigabytes of RAM is great, and the 512 gigabytes of storage is spot on in my opinion. I don't think you need any more than that, and the price for 1,300 makes it very competitively priced compared to ones in the UK, like the Samsung Z Fold 6 or 7, which are ever going to be out by the time I get this video done, which is probably going to be about £1,700 or 1,900 in the 1TB version. The Pixel 9 Pro Fold at the full price is about 1,800 and 512 gigabytes. So you think about what you're getting on this phone for the money. If you import it, it's really good value for money. So I can't find a fault with the design or specifications on this phone. I think Oppo have hit the nail on the head. It's also IPX8 waterproof, water resistant, so you can actually dunk it in water and it would work. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's one of the best rated foldables for that in the world. It's even been demonstrated by Oppo in a water tank and it worked fine. It's not got any dust resistance as normal foldables because of the hinge system, so just be wary if you take it on the beach or sand, the sand will destroy the screen. It also comes pre-installed with screen protectors, which are on both the internal and the outer screen. Oppo recommend having the internal screen protected and replaced if it needs to be at their service centre, so just bear that in mind, and you can do it at any Oppo service centre worldwide. So you could go to a UK one and they will cover the warranty because it's a worldwide global warranty. So I think that pretty much covers the specs. It does have, I don't want to go into the camera specs at the moment, we'll do that in a minute, we'll do that separately. So I think that pretty much covers the specs on the phone. It's got great sounding speakers. I hadn't had any problems with the audio on it. You know, it's got really good call quality for the money, which I thought maybe I thought there may be some sacrifice somewhere for the thinness of this phone. I could not find a sacrifice in terms of how thin this phone is. In terms of how I used it every day, I just didn't notice any difference in using it to a normal foldable, apart from the size and the fact it fit in my pocket easier, and you can use it one-handed because of the thinness. That's what really appealed to me, was that it just felt like a more usable foldable phone, because I've used some really thick foldable phones and they just don't appeal to me at all, and they just make life a bit more difficult, and it makes the foldable process and experience not as good. So Oppo have really hit the nail on the head, as I've said with this, and it is great. So let's just cover what we get on the cameras then. So you get an 8 megapixel ultra wide, which is, as I mentioned, probably the weakest camera of the lot, but it's still good. You get a proper periscope telephoto 50 megapixel, which is really good. And you get a 50 megapixel wide angle lens. So there's 3 cameras on there. Then you've got a front facing camera. So on the front camera on the main screen is an 8 megapixel, and the camera in the corner on the main fold screen is a 8 megapixel as well. So not the highest resolution selfie cameras, but I thought the results using AI image processing were fine, and it's fine for selfies and group shots. And also remember, because it's a foldable, you can actually flip the phone over like that and use it like a little telephoto stand on that side, and you can take group shots with the main camera and selfies like that with the main camera. So I don't worry too much about foldables having a not as good camera on the front, because I just use the rear cameras to take my photos as selfies if I need to, or anything like that. And as long as the main camera's on the back, fine, I'm fine with that. And the main camera and the front camera is fine for WhatsApp calls, etc. That does the job perfectly. So in my opinion, the cameras, even though they're only 8 megapixel, are perfect for the phone, and it really suits the thinness of the phone. I get why they couldn't put a better camera in there, it's fine. So let's look at the wide angle lens first. So the ultra wide, so it's 8 megapixel. I thought 8 megapixel is going to be rubbish. It is OIS supported, so you've got the stabilization on there, and it has about an f-stop of 2.2 if you're interested. Does get a bit techie now, but it's not a bad camera. I took some ultra wide shots out and about in good lighting conditions, and it gives good results. So in low lighting, it starts to drop off a bit because of that 8 megapixel sensor. The smaller sensor, you're going to start to drop in quality. So in low light, it isn't as good. But in perfect lighting conditions, outside in the summer or taking outside whenever, it does deliver. It gives a decent result for an ultra wide camera. It's not one of my favourites, but it's not one of the worst ones either. So I don't think it's as bad as people made out it was in some of the reviews, in my opinion. I'll show you some results I got from the camera, and it's good, I think, for what it does. Then we're looking at the wide angle lens, which is 50 megapixel, and that's got an f1.8, so it's pretty standard, and it has an OIS support as well, and that's a great camera. Really good for portraits and everything like that. It works fine. And then the telephoto is finally 50 megapixel, and that also has OIS on it, and it's all Hasselblad branded as well. And I think the color tuning is really good because of the Hasselblad tuning. And I think it's not as good as the Find X8 Pro, or I'm guessing the Find X8 Ultra, which I haven't tried yet. But if you want the best camera system on the market, you're gonna have to look at those X8 Pros and X8 Ultras on the Oppo side of things, and then the Vivo 200 Pro and 200 Ultra and all those. Or the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, for example. But for a foldable, this is one of the best camera systems I've used. It's very comparable to the Pixel 9 Pro Fold camera, in my opinion, which is also one of the best cameras on a foldable. So you do have some sacrifices with it being thin and the foldable, but I've got the balance just right, I think, in terms of how good the camera is. And I think the fact that the module's not too big on the back of it suits the design, the slim design. I think they've just got the balance perfect here. The camera's not the best, but it's not that bad, and it goes everyday job. It takes really good photos. So I think it's just exactly what people need or are looking for on this foldable and what features it has. So in my opinion, Oppo have hit the nail on the head. So you get HDR on it, 4K 60, 4K 30, you get Dolby Vision, it's got lots of cinematic mode, time-lapse, HDR, slow-mo up to 1080p 240. So it does lots of features on it that a flagship phone would do, but not as good as like a flagship camera phone like this, say the Xiaomi 15 Ultra or even the Pixel 9 Pro XL. It would probably still deliver better results if you want the best camera phone on the market. It's not going to be the best on the market, but it's very good for a foldable. That's just what I found from everyday testing. So if you are into photography and you like to take photos a lot, and you want a foldable phone that has a decent camera, then this would be the one to consider. I've not found a better foldable apart from the Pixel 9 Pro Fold that has a good camera system on it. So they're the two foldables I would look at if you want a decent camera system on a foldable phone. Let's just cover the battery quickly. So it has a 5,600 milliamp battery, which is pretty good for this foldable. So most foldables are looking at about 4,500 milliamps. So this has got really good battery life and will easily last a day and a half in light use, and easily a day in heavy use using both screens and the cameras all the time. And it charges using their SuperFOC charger, which is included in the box, at 80 watts. So this charges really, really quickly. It's one of the fastest charging for foldables I've used. No problems charging it, it's great. And it also supports 50 watts wireless charging using the AirVoc wireless charger, or it will charge on a QI2 wireless charging at 15 watts. So you've got plenty of options there from the power side of things, which is amazing. They've actually fit wireless charging in this phone for how thin it is. In fact, it's incredible, because I've seen manufacturers say we can't fit wireless charging in phones double this thickness. So Oppo have really gone to town on this foldable to make it one of the best feeling foldables and usable foldables on the market today. You've got all the usual things like the fingerprint reader on the side, which is really quick. You've got facial recognition, everything like that. And as I mentioned, the speakers are really good from watching films on. For a foldable, for this thin as well, it sounds really good. One problem with it is, like the same with any foldables, is the aspect ratio. So if you're watching a film on this screen, it will have enormous black bars on it, and you can zoom in, but you're still going to get that because it's a bit of a strange aspect ratio. So one thing, if you've not used a foldable before, just bear that in mind. The aspect ratio on the inner screen is a bit dodgy, which is the same for any foldable on the market. It doesn't apply just to the OnePlus. It's just something to point out if you're looking in the market for a foldable. On top of all that, we've got all the latest support for wireless Bluetooth codecs, like got Bluetooth 5.4, you've got all the lossless audio codecs covered on there as usual by Oppo. So if you've got some really good wireless headphones and you can listen to it in full HD lossless audio, which is really nice. You've got Wi-Fi 7, you've got 2 Wi-Fi antennas built in, and the reception is great. I found the 5G coverage on it to be one of the best on the market. So I've tried I find the phones vary in terms of how 5G speeds you get, but I took this out and about and it delivered blisteringly fast 5G speeds, as you would expect from a latest handset, and it does. So in my mind, there isn't many compromises on the side of this phone at all. Let's just quickly cover the software side of things. So it runs the usual Oppo Color OS, which is one of my favourite OSs on the market, and OnePlus also do a very similar OS called Oxygen OS, which is another favourite one of mine. The two are very similar, if not the same, and they are very well done. You've got like a taskbar at the bottom and the side swipes out, and it just feels like it's really well implemented. It's like if you click on the side here, it'll give you like a sidebar to swipe out. I'll show you some more footage of this, and then you've got a taskbar at the bottom for multitasking, file docs. So you can even open this up and use it, connect it to a Mac and use it for the keyboard with your Mac. I've not tried that yet, but there's loads of options what you can do with this, and it just is great for multitasking and productivity if you're after a phone like that. So ColorOS, really impressive. You're still going to get the updates in the UK, no problems with that, don't worry about that at all if you're going to import this. And you even get a case and a charger in the box. So Oppo really gone to town. I think for £1,300 roughly to import this, it is an absolute bargain for the amount of phone you get for your money. I would highly recommend doing so. I haven't got a negative thing to say about this phone, really. It's even got the slider switch on the side of it, which is between the, as usual, Oppo slider switch, which makes it go from vibrate to normal. And the buttons just feel really high quality. Everything just feels really well put together, like it will last years. So I think from a longevity perspective, it will last a long time. So let's just sum this up then. I've rambled on long enough. Let's give some final thoughts. So at an overall package, from looking at 1,300 to 1,500, depending where you buy the phone from, the Chinese version or the global version, I think it is one of the best foldables on the market today. I don't think there's one that particularly beats it. There are better ones with better cameras, like the Vivo do one of their older foldables as car-sized cameras. I've heard that's very good, but the Oppo Hasselblad camera system is pretty good on this phone. It's not the best on the market, but it is very good. The Pixel 9 Pro Fold is also worth looking at if it's easier to get hold of in the US, obviously, and the European market. It is very expensive and overpriced in my opinion in some ways, but on a deal or with a trade-in, it's quite a good foldable. It's got decent battery and not bad cameras, and the inner screen is also really good. So I think this is the best foldable on the market today in terms of its size, weight, thinness. I'm surprised how good the cameras are for the money. I'll show you some shots in this video, and because when I first got this, I thought the cameras may have compromised quite a lot, but actually there isn't many compromises with the cameras. They work perfectly. So check out the foldable. If you know anyone who has one, ask them about it, and it's worth going for. If you don't like it, you can always sell it on eBay because they go really quickly. So I would definitely recommend importing this and trying it out if you haven't and you're after a foldable for that kind of price range. As I say, check out Wonder. They were really good for me and they work really well. So that's it. That sums it up basically, that this is a great foldable with some great specs, and it has, the camera system really does deliver. I haven't got anything negative to say about this foldable really, and it comes with a case in the box, a white case or a black one depending on which model you go for. So I hope you've enjoyed the review, and it's been a bit different because it's nice to get a hold of different handsets and different phones from different parts of the world. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you've liked the review, and if you haven't, I would love to hear from you as to why you haven't, and drop me a comment down below. Open to any comments, any criticism, anything. I'd just love to hear back from people about the channel and how to expand it and how to grow it. So please, please, please do comment and subscribe and get involved in discussions, because I want this to be a place where people can get involved in discussions on tech or anything like that. Just get involved, comment down below, and we'll get going. So thank you very much again, and I'll speak to you next time. I've got loads of new exciting tech coming to the studio the next few weeks. I'll try and get as much on the channel as I can. So thanks again, and I'll speak to you next time.